So, once again, welcome. Last time, please don't clutter up the aisle. You there, particularly don't sit there. We'll get in large trouble with the fire department, so we definitely don't want this. There's still empty seats back there. Do you see them? Just please take them. So, if you're like me, you had some bad days this year when all the Fedora and SUSE and Novell guys picked on you for always propagating Debian. Now, the background of all that happens will now be presented by Luciano and Maximiliano, who came over from Argentina, particularly to talk to you. So give them a warm welcome.
Hi, I'm Maximiliano, he's Luciano. Well, we're going to talk about the bug in Debian's OpenSSL. Okay, I guess everybody knows what a PRNG is, but for those who don't, it's a predictable random number generator, okay? Okay, then I'll start talking with a brief introduction. When this bug was introduced in OpenSSL and what the consequences were, and then Luciano will show a live demo with some exploitation techniques, and maybe even how to conquer the universe. This bug, which affected OpenSSL, the random number generator, was introduced 2 years ago due to a Debian-specific patch. So it's a Debian-specific bug and remained undiscovered for 2 years, almost exactly 2 years until Luciano discovered this, and it was published on May 2008. This bug affects the underlying library of OpenSSL, which is libSSL, and every package, every program which links against this library. It not only affects Debian, but any other distribution which relies on Debian, such as Ubuntu, for example. The consequence, the main consequence, is that any cryptographic material may becomes guessable very easily. When we need a random number, we can see the output, the random output, as a random stream, and if we want to guess what the next output will be, in this case, we just need to know very low information. In this case, the entropy, the key space, is reduced to just 15 bits, and it also the random output also depends on the architecture and endianness, whether it is 32 or 64 bits, and little or big endian, and of course in the internal state of the generator. As a consequence, the result is that any cryptographic material is guessable. You can see in this, for example, all these cryptographic schemes. They all may be, or in fact they are affected. Here are some of the affected packages. For example, OpenSSH, OpenVPN, Tor, Firefox, for example, or any is not included. It's not affected because it uses its own crypto suite. Well, how this bug was introduced 2 years ago? It all started when a Debian user submitted a bug to the Debian bug tracking system, where he was complaining about some uninitialized variables, which were, he was getting a lot of warnings when debugging his own programs, which linked with libSSL, and he was using a debugger called Vagrant. We'll see what he was complaining about. Thank you. Hola. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Here we have a small program. It just gets a number of bytes, of random bytes from OpenSSL into the buffer and then prints it on the screen. It links with OpenSSL library. Now we run it. And we get random output every time we run it. Okay, what we want to see is what happened 2 years ago when the bug was discovered, this bug. So what we're gonna do, we're linking against the original SSL library and running this little program with the debugger, which is Vagrant. It checks for uninitialized memory, and we can see a lot of warnings, almost 100 errors. So let's remember that it was just in a very, very small program. There are no uninitialized variables here, so the problem lies inside the OpenSSL library. Gracias. Thank you. So the Kurt, the Debian maintainer, he analyzed the source code and identified 2 problematic lines, which are those, line 274 and 467, which are syntactically identical, but of course they're in different contexts, they're in different functions. What these lines are doing is adding some amount of entropy into the random number generator state. Take a look at the second line, which is enclosed by this conditional compilation macro, which is related to Purify, which is another debugger which resembles very closely to Vagrant. So this line may get compiled or not, depending on the compilation flags. And well, why was that happening? Because uninitialized variables are a source, some kind of source of entropy for the random number generator state. But it's a very weak source of entropy. There are a lot better alternatives as a source of entropy, as entropy seeds. Okay, so the Debian maintainer proposed a number of solutions to this problem. The first one being just not ignoring this problem, but it was affecting any program which linked with libSSL, so it wasn't a good solution. Another solution would also be to ignore it, telling Vagrant just to ignore it, but it was the same problem. If you used another debugger, the warnings would still be there. So another solution would be just don't add this buffer, these uninitialized variables into the random number generator, as they don't add any significant entropy. They didn't add any quality to the random output. So, well, he decided to ask to the upstream, to OpenSSL developers, by mail, where he explained the problem and asked what would be the consequences if he commented those lines. And well, the Debian developers said not much. If it helps, we're in favor of removing. If it helps with debugging. So this here starts the misunderstanding, because finally those two lines were commented out and the patch was submitted to the official Debian package. This screenshot comes from the Debian changelog on the web. And so we have a look what happened when the patch was submitted. Thank you. No. No. We're running the program again with Vagrant, but this time with the patched version of OpenSSL. The patched. It's there are no more errors. The program output just looks random, so we're all happy. Everything's fine. Okay. Well, what happened is when the program, such as the demo, wants to get some random bytes from OpenSSL, it calls this function, runByte, and uses a buffer set as input and output. The input, when we are using it as input, as we just saw, it reads its content and adds that to the entropy of the random generator. But it's a very low quality entropy, so it's negligible. But when a process just started, for the first time, it needs to be initialized. It calls that other function, which initializes the random generator state from many different sources of entropy. The most important one and the strongest one being the system random device. Can you? So when we applied this patch, when the second line is commented, the second one, which was enclosed in the macro conditional compilation, this input is erased, but as it added a negligible amount of entropy, it doesn't matter. It's okay. The problem is the first line, which ended up reducing the entropy to just this source, which is the process ID, and that gives us 15 bits, only 15 bits of entropy. So let's take a look